Hey everybody! In today's video, we are going to do some fun modern quilting with paper. But before we start that, I want to talk to you about dirty cardstock. I have my card panels pre-cut for me. I'll put a link in the description. And that means I'll stack them on my desk when I'm making cards. And that also means I get ink all over some of the blank ones sometimes. But don't throw those away because they are so great for the technique that we're going to do today, no matter what they look like, how terrible they look. I have a little stack of them here that have some kind of little blemish on them, or maybe I've even die cut a piece out of them and they're still big enough to paper piece onto. So I want to encourage you to hang on to your sad, grungy cardstock and use it like we're going to use it today. Now I have two stacks of paper here. I have these beautiful ocean themed teals, and then I have some dark gray and black patterns from two different paper stacks. Those will be in the description as well. And I cut them into 1/4 inch strips, and I'm also cutting some little chips off of them because I want to recreate a beautiful modern quilt that I saw. I went to the QuiltCon event here in Austin many years ago and saw the most beautiful and artistic quilts I have ever seen in my life. Very modern, very just shocking to me. They weren't what I thought of as quilts prior to that. I just had never seen anything so modern and artistic. And I took a lot of photos at that event. And I realized when I was looking through the photos that one of the things that really struck me about the ones that I was drawn to the most is that they were very simple patterns. They weren't what you think of as kind of intricate quilting patterns. They were super simple, geometric, blocks of color arranged in a way that was just stunningly beautiful. And so I'm going to apply that today based on a quilt that I saw. And what this is going to be is a series of strips where I'm going to intermingle the teal and the gray papers. I'm going to offset the heights of each of the strips a little bit, and I'm also going to add in some of these little chips, which was a technique that I saw several times at QuiltCon that I thought was just beautiful. Just like little bits of color had broken away from the pack and drifted off into the open spaces on the quilts. And I found that so fetching. It was really, really pretty. So step one is to build kind of the focal point of the card where I'm going to have my sentiment. And to do that, I'm just alternating the teal strips of paper, being careful to also alternate the patterns so I don't have the patterns next to each other. I deliberately chose colors that were very similar to each other, except for one, which is much darker. This is also covered in my bargello video, and it's important for sort of drawing your eye around the design to have that dark accent every now and then. This is true of anything, whether it's watercolor, whether it's paper piecing, quilting, anything. I do this because I can't sew. Like emotionally allergic to sewing. I don't know why. I did not get that gene. So that's the main focal point. So now what I'll do is I'll speed up piecing in the gray pieces. Now, because of the way paper cutters work, especially like my little guillotine trimmer that you see sitting off to the side, they are imperfect. You might line your paper up with a line. You might line it up with the edge of a line. And so you're going to get some variation in the strips. So you will see some white space in between some of these strips, and that's completely fine. I'm going to show you how we fix this. But isn't that a beautiful pattern? It's so modern and fun. I just love it. So, and I will trim off that side piece. Don't be driven crazy. So what I did was I got out my Olo marker chart, and I looked for markers that were similar in color to both the teal colors that had white spaces next to them and the gray, which you'll see over on the right-hand side of my chart. And I'm just matching those up so that I can go fill in that white space and you'll never even know that it was there. So I chose the 2.3 marker BG 2.3, which is aqua green. That looks very close to these. And then I have a combination of Copic and Olo marker grays that I will fill in with, and you can see that just vanishes when I do that, and you would never know that little just imperfection in the paper was there. So feel free to touch up with markers, and don't get frustrated when you're lining up little strips of paper that were hand cut, because they're never going to be perfect. Never, ever, ever. Nothing is, as I keep saying. I'm going to keep saying it. So I'll fill in the gray one as well. Always start a little bit light, because if you go too dark initially, it's really going to stand out on the paper. So start with a lighter marker than you think and fill that in, and it'll be good as new. So I will finish up with this last little one on the left. Just look for any white areas and go to kind of fill those in. It's very easy, just takes a second. And after you've done all that piecing, it's really worth it. Now, when you're done piecing it together, if you really want to make it look like a quilt, grab that Snowflake cover die that's dotted. Grab another cover die with a pattern on it and run this entire thing through your die cutting machine to put that impression on it. It's going to look just like a stitched quilt. But isn't this beautiful? I love this color combination. I love the design. If there's a quilt con near you ever, go see it. On this second card, I sort of lined up some strips on a second scrap and then cut them into squares for a different look. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Head over to my blog for more information, and thanks so much for watching.